Ben is the CEO and founder at Braille, previously founded and was the CEO of Duala. He believes that stablecoins are for everyone.
We're going to talk more about on-ramps, off-ramps, and some APIs. I think that the demo that Ed gave is really incredible because it does call out just how needed the on-ramps and off-ramps really are for folks in the ecosystem. And we're excited to be able to show you some new APIs, which really give what we think is first-class on-ramps and off-ramps to application developers that want to build with the API first, not just embed a UI. I think we all know that if you work in fintech, blockchains can be somewhat difficult to wrap your head around. And if you work in blockchains, many times fintech infrastructure is quite frustrating to wrap your head around because nothing happens at the same speed. If you're thinking about signers all day, you're not going to want to talk about ISO standards and everything else. And so we spent a lot of time really trying to figure out how we actually combine the best parts of all of these. And hopefully this is a mildly underwhelming demo. But what I hope to leave you with is just the incredible amount of complexity that we've got built into this new API. The first thing to point out is that when we do a new ecosystem integration, like we just did the XRP ledger with Ripple, as soon as we do that, we basically have core assets and everything on the ledger that is supported on the platform is reverse compatible with everything else. So if you look at our APIs, it's like everything is a transfer. We say this all the time. And so if we integrate with, let's just say Base, USDC is supported, Axos issued assets, Circle issued assets, and all of these things become reverse compatible again with everything else. Like USD Bitcoin on Spark is now compatible with USDC on Base, is compatible with XRP Ledger and RLUSD. And so it all just continues to compound. I asked GPT how many variations we had now, and it told me there was something like 1 million. I don't know if that's actually right, but I do know it's a lot. All right. One of the things that we rolled out here that we think is really exciting was additional support for new transfer types. And so we treat all different types of transfers as a transfer type. The way that we tried to think about off-chain transfers is more of like an abstraction of how would you implement them if you thought about them as like an L1 and an L2. That also gives you the freedom to think about RTP and ACH are actually quite different things. And so what we've done is we've added additional transfer types to the API for off-chain transfers in addition to what's supported in the core application. And so you can now start to use ACH credit, ACH debit, same-day ACH, and even RTP in the API. And you don't have to pre-fund anything. You don't have to do any research about ISO standards. You don't have to do anything differently. And it all just works with everything else that we've already implemented. And so if you think about how that plays into a different workflow, these things are not incredibly provocative in terms of workflow. And I think that what makes them ripe for adoption. Let's see. So let's say, for example, you are a fintech and your fintech wants to be doing on-chain payments to folks who want to receive USDC. I think we have all run into companies that are doing this all over the world. And some of those companies want to roll out a new stablecoin and then fund those transfers with their own stable. One of the great things about Braille is you can create your own stablecoin in about 30 seconds. And so once you have it, it's a lot more useful if it can actually be interoperable with many of the other things, and obviously interoperable with whatever your customers want. What you can help me with is you can authenticate. Give me a second here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the new Braille API endpoints to make some additional transfers here live. So you can see how these things actually work in production. So this is actually the request body for a certain type of transaction. If you think about what is happening here, I'm taking a stablecoin on Canton, which clients really, because they can actually hold these balances in private. And so if you're holding treasury or a large amount on a chain, you might not want everybody to know exactly how much you're holding there. And you might want to basically swap over to a different stablecoin, maybe one you don't issue or Braille doesn't issue, to make a payment, and do that really simply inside of an API. So you can imagine if like you're a marketplace and you want to pay a whole bunch of people out in USDC, because that's what everybody already knows, you can actually fund that with your own stablecoin really quickly. And so if you wanted to, you could swap that with a stablecoin you created, a stablecoin anybody else created on 20 different blockchains at this point. Now let's use one. And the different variations are, they're not endless, but sometimes it feels like it. Again, if you think about all the additional stablecoins and blockchains as we bring them online, you can really start to think about how all of the different ecosystems start to interconnect on the back end, because obviously all of these also have native mint burn functions. So you can go cross-chain, cross-symbol at 0 basis points with 0 slippage, which is excellent. We have a lot of clients that have started thinking about us almost as like a stablecoin clearing and settlement platform. So you can see that transaction went through just fine. USDC transaction was paid out to whomever. Let's say that the same marketplace has sellers on its marketplace that it now wants that money in a bank. It doesn't actually want or care about stablecoins. It just wants the money in a normal bank account. You can now change the transfer type in the API. All I changed was the address ID for an external account that was registered in the API, designated the value type of USD instead of a stablecoin value type, and ACH credit. And what actually happens is just went and created that with downline series of providers. So we collected a group of best-in-class bank and non-bank providers. A proud dad moment for me because one of those is Dwala, and I really love Dwala. And so you can start to think about how do you light up these paths without having to go do a whole bunch more work as a developer. And what's so exciting about this is it just works. If I want to swap this from SBC to USDC to a stablecoin that I just created, and then I can put it directly into someone's bank account, all of a sudden you're starting to think about, oh gosh, these things can be used to lower costs and increase revenues inside of the payment flows, the different payments, embedded finance, financial institutions are actually using today. Many of our clients, when they come to us, they just want the advantage of the cost savings and the revenue. They don't want to learn all the different signing languages, all the different algorithms, any more than people that are working on chain want to learn about 3, 5, and 8 like records and plat files. No one wants to learn it. They just want to put the money in a bank account or get it on chain. And I think this is really exciting because you can start to think about how do we connect hundreds of millions of US bank accounts with hundreds of millions of wallets effectively at no cost. These things are really difficult to engineer, some sort of like ground one. When you bring it together in one API, it is incredibly effective. If we go a step further, and let's just say I want to swap this out and I want to actually route over RTP. And I want to route, let's say from Spark on I don't want to say, I'll say new Bitcoin, USDB is the USD Bitcoin on Spark. I don't know how many of the Braille team are on, but like this should work, right? This is a custom stablecoin running on a brand new blockchain that is routing over RTP in real time to the receiver's bank account. And all I did was change a variable in the API. Congratulations, team. It worked. Now, let's just say we want to go a step further. As many when you put money into a bank account, there is an element of if the marketplace wants the seller to know who paid it, you need to actually be able to put your name on the transaction. We call that a branding variable, which has now been added to the API. And all you need to do to change the brand that shows up on the bank account is change a variable in the API to allow the receiver to reconcile. No flat files, no ISO explanations, gentlemen, no pre-funding. All of it just works right off the API in real time. And so we think this is really incredible because this basically is the API framework to allow any bank account to fund any ecosystem integration in any stablecoin that is supported by Braille, Braille issued or otherwise right after it's issued. Separately, there was a question in the chat about off-ramps. Off-ramps are clearly right there. I just did a ACH off-ramp and an RTP off-ramp in the demo, and this is real money. This is live. So no hand-holding. I mean, there might have been some had it failed, but it seems like it worked pretty well. As far as the demo goes, that's pretty much about it. Our feeling is that there has to be something that gets done in order to quickly make bespoke stablecoin projects and new ecosystems be able to be connected with first-class on-ramps, irregardless of whether or not they're 15 minutes old or 10 years old. There are still plenty of emerging ecosystems that are getting older that still don't have great on-ramps, off-ramps. And we just think the taxes that have been applied to different developers around the ecosystem are a little bit ridiculous. So we're excited to help bring those in line with the rest of the fintech market. We cannot wait to see what you build with this.